Hello and welcome. Today I'm going to take a look at some of the succulents that need some attention from me. I feel like there are a handful of them in here. This one, I don't know if you guys can see, is putting out some crazy amount of aerial roots right under the face. And I'm not sure why. I mean, most succulents put out, well, I shouldn't say most. Some succulents put out aerial roots when they need water. And right now it is winter and they're inside, so they are not being watered all that often, especially if they are winter dormant succulents. I actually don't know if this is winter dormant because this is a Graptosetum, and which I just realized I spelled it wrong on the tag, but it's a Graptosetum mule, and I don't have any information. I should have looked it up. I do have a list of various different kinds of succulents and listed as to whether they're summer dormant or winter dormant, and I don't have this on my list. And I mean, there is a Graptopetalum that's on the list for summer dormant plants, which in turn means that I can probably water them in the winter more so than not. That's just sort of my assumption. And this is a Graptosetum, so I think it's a cross between Graptopetalum and a sedum. That's what I'm guessing. I'm not 100% sure. But anyhow, I should have looked up when this was last watered, but a lot of my succulents at this point have been watered here and there. Maybe it's been a couple of months at most. Some of them I do water once a month. Others I'm really not watering them and it's been 2 months. So it's hard to say. I have a list, and that list is on my phone, which I'm using to record this video. So I will have to check that later. But I do think that this needs to be repotted anyway. So I'm just going to pull it out of the pot and see what's going on with that. So this tag tells me I had this since, or this was initially potted in May 23. So it has been, I guess, a year and a half. And I'm trying to remember if it was always potted in this terracotta pot. I can't remember. I do have that on my list as well. But as you can see, it is very dry in here. And I'm trying very hard. Ooh, okay. Alright, I see the problem. And this, I feel like I've seen this in some, I don't know which plant, which succulent, but I feel like I've definitely seen this in something else. Now, it's putting out this crazy amount of aerial roots here because the stem is dead. So it's right above where it starts being okay. That's where it's putting out those aerial roots. Okay, so it's a good thing that I did pull this out. If I didn't, this rotting or this drying, I am not sure what this is, will continue all the way up and will potentially kill the whole plant. So I'm gonna sterilize my scissor here, and I will cut the stem right underneath. Okay, so you can see that the stem is still green, so that's okay. There is a little sort of darker central area in the middle. There's like a little smaller circle that's I think that's okay. That might be because of age, or that might be because whatever was happening to that dried up stem or rotted stem has proceeded further up. It's hard to say. It looks like it's okay. Let's see. Let's look at this part. Looks like it's okay. See, it's still green over here, but you know, the stem is completely dried out. And when it's dead, it's brown like this. So I think that's okay. This spot is okay. It's mostly green. The center is a little iffy, but I have all these roots here, and I think it'll be alright. Other than that, the face of the plant... Ooh, of course I dropped Okay, I lost one petal. That's okay. Alright, I better be really careful before I start losing all the petals. There's not many left. Earlier the terracotta pot was 3 inches. This, I got a smaller pot. This is about 2 inches, a little bigger than 2 inches. I'm gonna put it in a smaller pot. Because as you can see, it's tiny. This is about, I want to say, an inch. Just trying to be really gentle because I just lost a petal, so I don't want to do that again. I kind of gently put it in here. I'm trying to bury all the aerial roots in. The soil mix is pretty dry right now, so I think it'll be fine, but I'm not going to water this until at least 3 or 4 days after, because I just snipped the stem, so the stem is open, sort of like open wound right now. So even though it has those aerial roots, I'm not going to water because I don't want that open wound to rot. So I'll let it sit here maybe up to a week perhaps, and then I'll water a little bit. Not too much, only because the leaves look still pretty plump. So I'm not too worried about that, it needing water right now. Hopefully it'll settle in here. And I'm gonna leave this right here. See if it propagates. And I have to reprint this tag, as I spelled Graptosedum wrong. I keep that in there and update my notes to say it's been repotted today. And let's see, what else needs my attention? I'll put this aside. I don't see anything that needs my attention per se, at least from where I'm sitting right now. And there might be some repotting that I have to do, but I actually don't have any pots. So I'm just gonna leave them for now, but I do see things I do have to water. So I'm gonna briefly talk about how I water my succulents in the winter. So I use one of these, my camera angle, it's not really happening here. Okay, I use one of these little squeegee bottles. I don't know what these are called. I know I got it from Amazon, but I do like this because it helps me get into tight spaces in my little tiny pots. So I repotted this opalina not too long ago. It was sitting in like a 3 to 4 inch sort of lower profile pot, but I took it out of there because it dropped a lot of lower leaves and it was just getting really like tall and stemmy. So I moved it into this longer pot, and this is about 3 inches tall, but the opening is about barely 2 inches. So I put it in here, and it's been more than a week, so I'm going to give it a little bit of water. I don't have a clean tray, so I'm just gonna have to use this dirty tray. And this is a new succulent one, which I probably didn't do an unboxing. I didn't post an unboxing video, or I don't know if I plan on doing it or whatnot. I do not remember. I do have, like I mentioned previously, I am backed up on my sort of unboxing videos, so I'm not sure if I even recorded an unboxing of that. But anyhow, so this is how I water my succulents in the winter. I mean, it's literally like 2 squirts, 3 squirts. Not much by any means. At this point, it may or may not seep through the bottom. Yeah, it's seeping. Okay. So I wouldn't give more than this. Now there are succulents that I do water more than this. I have soaked some of my succulents. I bottom water some of my succulents. But the ones that are technically winter dormant, I really just do a squirt, like 3 squirts like I did to this opalina. Now this opalina I think it's a Graptivaria, which is a summer dormant succulent. So technically I can water this a little bit more, but I won't do that with this one because I just recently repotted, and the roots have been, I didn't really touch much of the roots, but the fact that it was pulled out from the existing pot, I don't like to water them too much, even though it's been 10 days in there. Now this one is, I think it's called a Cute Pink, and it's a new one, and this one doesn't have roots, or it can't bear rooted, so, and I think it's been about 10 days, and that is why you see these pegs holding it in place. You see how it put out like all these bottom layers of dried leaf over here. That's all new dried leaf, so that's a good indication that it put out some roots. So I'm gonna squirt a little bit in there to help the roots along. Now, as I mentioned, most echeverias are winter dormant, and technically they're supposed to be all winter dormant, but because they're inside, that complicates things when you're thinking about watering them, because inside the temperatures are warm enough where they're in active growth stage. Now, having said that, you water them like you would in the spring and the fall? No, because one, they're inside, and you don't want these to get leggy. There's several factors. Even though the temperatures are high, it's supposed to be winter and they're supposed to be dormant, so I feel like some of them are probably a little bit confused. But when you water them too much indoors, you just don't have the type of circulation or that you have outside, so they all of a sudden shoot up and go through this active growth period. Because they're indoors and temperatures are high enough for their roots to be active, when you overwater them, they will shoot up, and that's why they get leggy inside. Even though the grow lights do help, it's nothing like the actual sun, in my opinion. It helps, but you also have to make sure you water them accordingly. Otherwise, they will push new growth really fast, and before you know it, you'll end up with a succulent that looks a lot like, here's one I'm going to show you real quick. Ta-da! So that's what it's going to end up looking like. Yeah, this one is looking terrible, and this one is actually a blue bean, and I will put in a picture of something, a picture of what it used to look like before it came in here. Now, initially when it came here, it didn't look this bad, but I did give it water because, and I'm telling you, I gave it very little water. This blue bean does this to me every winter, and it would shoot up inside. Just any bit of water in here will do this to blue bean, and it also putting out crazy amount of dried leaves, and that's why I thought that I should give it a little bit of water, but lo and behold, I should have known better because it does this to me every winter. I shouldn't have given it any water. I don't know what's worse. And it also looks like this because I think maybe because of the fungicide that I sprayed. Now, was it infected with powdery mildew? I don't know. I don't think it was. I didn't see that it was. But when I do the overall prevention, which is desperately needed at this point, look, regular leaves are dropping at a single touch, and it's just falling like, it's just falling apart. Now, yeah, so a lot of these dried leaves may be from because it was sprayed with fungicide. Now, some plants don't do well with fungicide spray. Others don't really get affected at all, but a lot of them do end up putting out a lot of dried leaves after the spraying. So I think maybe it would have an open wound, or maybe it seeped into the node. I don't know exactly why some succulents are more sensitive to the fungicide. In this case, I feel like all these dried leaves was a result of the fungicide spray that I put on. And I can see that the leaves are like, it has that blue tint, which is what the fungicide spray, it's a residue from the fungicide spray. So, I mean, I'm not too upset about it in that I don't think this is dead. It has done this to me in the winter inside, Next year, I just really have to remember not to water it at all. I think that's what I'll have to try. But this year, it's kind of like every year is different. This year, I'm having all this fungus issue, the powdery mildew issue, and that I think just complicated things even more. This blue bean was doing really great and looked really beautiful in the fall outside, and now it just looks like I can't even begin to tell you what this looks like. It looks so terrible. It looks, oops, it looks like a beanstalk, a lanky beanstalk. And it's also, I don't know if you can see it putting out airy roots on the very top. It's not a good indication, but I don't see any kind of stem rotting or any signs of rotting stem down here by the base. This might have been a little bit too close to the radiator, although as I mentioned, the radiator cover is closed over here in this room, but it does get pretty warm in here. Right now I have the fan off, and I just closed the window as well, so it is 62 degrees in here, which is still not, technically not that warm, but it's warm enough and it's ideal for growth for succulents. So this is what happens. You give it a little bit of water, or if you give it too much water at the wrong time, this is what ends up happening to your succulent. If you don't want your succulents to get leggy in the winter, you have to make sure you water them less, especially if they're winter dormant, and you have to make sure there is plenty of air circulation, which means you'd have to have a window open and also a fan in here, air circulator. So I have those fans that circulates 120 degrees side to side and 90 degrees up and down. That seems to help, but I also do have a ceiling fan and a small portable fan. So I have 3 fans in here. I don't always have them on at the same time. Sometimes I do. It really depends on the outside temperature, and even though when heat's not on, if the temperatures outside are fairly warm and it's a sunny day, it can still get really warm in here. So I need, at that point, the fans to be running. So artificial circulation is better than no circulation, so you need to have circulation. And of course, grow lights are just a must when you're growing them inside. Alright, just looking at succulents like this, it really, I mean, I shouldn't say it's depressing because I know it will recover. I've seen it recover. It looks terrible right now, but once it goes back outside and puts on more growth, and with the sun and the circulation, it's gonna regain its original look. So I'm not too worried about that, but in the meantime, I have to be able to put up with this look of this succulent, and I gotta make sure to keep an eye out for it and make sure that it doesn't rot in here or have any kind of other issue. And of course, the other problem with watering them in the winter is that winters things just don't dry that fast. And to be fair, in here I think I don't have to worry about that as much because I am indoors and things will dry. So if I do water a succulent, it's not gonna take 3 days to dry, you know, unless there is a problem with the succulent. So if the succulent is healthy and I watered it, usually after a day you can see that the top dressing is drying out after a day or two. Now if there's a problem with the succulent and the roots, then that top dressing may stay wet for a week or even 2 weeks, and that's when it gets dangerous, because in the winter when things don't dry is when fungus starts happening, which is also the reason why we need an air circulator, a ceiling fan, some sort of fan running in here with the windows open on a regular basis. So, okay, that's my little tidbit on how to water succulents in the winter indoors. I'm still curious as to how many people actually grow succulents indoors here. I wish I had lovely outdoor weather where I can keep them outside all year round, but that is definitely not an option for us here in New York. Today is actually 31 degrees right now, and it's super sunny today. 31 degrees, but with the wind chills, it feels like 15, 20 degrees. So, my poor babies can't stand outside. They can't stay outside in that type of weather. So I think that's it for today. So, see you guys next time. Thanks for watching. Bye now.